Ready? All right. Good evening, everyone. This evening is our monthly meeting of the Board of Adjustment. We are committed to a transparent process and encouragement of public comment during our meetings. We will be accepting testimony from all parties. If you wish to testify on any particular petition before us this evening using the Zoom platform, please use the raise hand feature. You can raise your hand at any time, and we will recognize you at the appropriate time for the presentation of evidence for each case. If in person this evening, please hand staff your speaker's card. Planner Robin Keefe will be moderating the hybrid meeting and will be asked to provide names of those individuals that wish to speak. I'd like to call the meeting of the City of Wildwood's Board of Adjustment to order. The board members present today are Bob Morris, board member, Anthony Rayner, alternate member, Arnie Sprunger, vice chair, Michael Lee, board member, and myself, Jared Frank, chair. The Department of Planning staff present is Joe Vunis, director of planning, and Robin Keefe, planner. City Attorney Sarah Rutherford and Court Reporter Becca Tuggle are also present on Zoom. First, I offer into the record of affidavit the publication pertaining to today's meeting, June 19th, 2025, and take official notice of the zoning ordinance of City of Wildwood, including Chapter 400, Article 2, authorizing and establishing the Board of Adjustment's powers and duties. Now, let me explain the hearing procedure. Please be aware the information I am about to describe is also provided on the Board of Adjustment Public Hearing Procedure handout, which was available online prior and up to tonight's meeting. This hearing is informal in its nature. However, this meeting's proceedings will be recorded by a reporter for future transcription if needed. The petitions will be called in the order listed on the agenda. As the petition is called, I will ask a Department of Planning staff member to read each request into the record. Thereafter, the Department of Planning will have opening remarks and a brief slide presentation. Then, the petitioner or his or her representative will be asked to state their name and address, be sworn in by the court reporter, make a brief presentation to the board explaining the nature of the requested variance, and present such evidence and witness testimony that may evidence the practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship that warrant the variance. The board will only consider the unique character of the property to determine whether they warrant the granting of a variance. The petitioner's presentation will be limited to 15 minutes total, inclusive of any questions posed by the board, unless such time is extended by the chair. Board members may ask questions to clarify the facts of the petitioner's presentation. When the board is satisfied with the material presented by the petitioner, the chair will then ask if there is anyone present or online who would like to speak in favor or opposition to the requested variance. Each speaker will be asked to provide their name and address, be sworn in, and then provide evidence and oral testimony. Witness testimony shall be limited to 5 minutes, inclusive of any questions posed by the board, unless such time is extended by the chair. Procedurally, the petitioner may request a continuance at any time during the hearing prior to a call for the vote in order to bring in additional evidence or testimony. The board may also continue the proceedings. After the submission of testimony and evidence from all interested parties, the board will ask a staff person to provide the Department of Planning's report on this matter if requested by any member of the board, the petitioner, or any individual that is participating in person or online. Once all witnesses have been heard, the chair will call for a motion to grant or deny with or without conditions, then the board will vote. At that time, the presentation of evidence relating to the petition is concluded and no further evidence will be permitted. The board may make a decision today. 4 members of the board must vote in favor of the variance for it to be approved. If variance is approved, the petitioner has 6 months to obtain the necessary permits or establish the use, or it will expire. If the board's decision is unfavorable, the petitioner has the right of appeal to the St. Louis County Circuit Court. This appeal must be done within 30 days of the decision. Ms. Keefe, are there any questions at this time?
Are there any participants online who would like to ask a question? Mr. Chair, I see no raised hand.
Hearing no questions at this time, the meeting will proceed. Will the department please read the first request into the record, which will be followed by a brief slide presentation if desired by board members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the board, the first item tonight is BA 7-25, Marjorie Rugg, 13 Deerfield Ridge Road, Wildwood, Missouri, 63005, care of Rhonda Loja, 205 Chesterfield Industrial Boulevard, Chesterfield, Missouri, 63005. Requests an exception to the minimum yard requirements, general, for the purpose of constructing a closet laundry room addition to the front of an existing single-family dwelling upon the property being located at 13 Deerfield Ridge Road, locator number 20X330036, Deerfield subdivision, lot 13, which would thereby authorize a front yard setback distance of 29 feet in lieu of 50 feet. This request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 415.090 NU non-urban resident district regulations. This item was originally scheduled for the April 17th, 2025 meeting, but was postponed by the petitioner to the May 15th, 2025 meeting, and then again to the June 19th, 2025 meeting. This particular property is located in Ward 1. Again, before Ms. Keefe begins the slide presentation, the department would like to enter into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been created and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular request, and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any testimony provided at tonight's hearing on this particular matter, including but not limited to maps, plats, letters, or other materials. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. The request this evening involves the construction of a closet laundry addition to the front of an existing single-family dwelling, which requires a front yard setback distance of 29 feet in lieu of 50 feet. The subject property is located in a far northern portion of Wildwood, just to the east of Babbler State Park. The subject lot is 3.84 acres in size, and it's located within the Deerfield subdivision, which consists of 13 lots total. The property is zoned non-urban residence district, which requires a 50-foot front yard setback from any public right-of-way or roadway easement, and also a 30-foot side yard setback. The property is served by Deerfield Ridge Road, which is a paved private roadway that's maintained by the properties of the same subdivision. It connects to Babbler Park Drive or Highway BA to the south. And again, this property is currently occupied by a single-family dwelling that was built in 1978. The lot does have an irregular shape to it, as you can see. It also has a varied topography with the highest elevations on the southeastern and southern portions of the property, and then sloping steeply downward to the northwestern corner. Overall, the relief is over 50 feet. The new closet laundry addition is where this arrow is pointing. So it is going to be affixed to the front of the existing dwelling, which does require, again, that 29-foot setback from the roadway easement, which is depicted by this red line here, in lieu of 50 feet. The petitioner notes there is mechanical equipment right behind this addition to the side of the dwelling that would create a hardship in having to move and also require more disturbance in that area if the addition were considered there. It is noted, and you can probably see in this site plan that the roadway doesn't exactly align well with the roadway easement as platted. These are elevations of the home with the new addition provided by the petitioner. So here we see the addition. And additionally, since the department's last report on the matter, the petitioner has also supplied a 3D rendering. So you can have that sense as well of what it would look like. Additionally, the department has received a tree impact study by the petitioner. It is noted that there are 2 large trees that will be impacted by the addition, including a very healthy Norway spruce and then an older white pine. Both would need to be removed. This is a picture of the dwelling looking northwest at the front of it. This is looking south at Deerfield Ridge Road. This is looking northeast at Deerfield Ridge Road, and we're standing in front of the residence. And then here we're up more towards that barn, so you can see the barn here. So here we're standing at the barn, looking northeast at the dwelling, which is right here. And then this is Deerfield Ridge Road, so you can see that curve. This is looking northwest at the dwelling. So here you can see some of the landscaping along the road. This will be unaffected by the project. This is, again, the area of the addition. This is the area to the side of the dwelling where the mechanical equipment is located. This is looking north. This is standing in that same location, looking northeast towards the barn, which is owned by the petitioner. This is looking southwest at the pool. This is looking northwest. We're standing in the inner courtyard area of the driveway where the garages are located. And this is a path that connects to Babbler State Park. The HOA did conduct a poll of the entire neighborhood in regards to this project, and over 90% approved of it. And that concludes my presentation. At this time, if you have any questions, Director Vunich and I are available to answer them. Thank you.
Any initial questions?
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Keefe. At this time, will the petitioner please come forward, state his or her name, address, relation to the property, and then be sworn in by the court reporter?
Hi, Jeff Atkins, Vols Incorporated, 10849 Indian Head Industrial Boulevard, St. Louis, Missouri, 63132. I'm here on behalf of Marjorie, the owner who's present. Rhonda, who's the
Just-
architect applicant.
Just a moment, we'll get you sworn in.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
See.
Go ahead. Okay, so here I'm here on behalf of Marjorie, the owner who's here. Rhonda, who's the architect and petitioner. She's not available, and Lisa Shearholz, who's the builder, who is also not available to be here. So I think that Robin explained everything that we're asking for. I think one of the things that we kind of wanted to point out, I wanted to point out, was that the topography of this ground is, there's quite a bit of topography, and this house is really built in the only spot it could be built. And so any addition to this property is going to be an issue. It doesn't lend itself to a lot of options. So like she had indicated, the mechanical and the utilities that come in that one location are a concern. Additionally, the trees that will be removed will need talking about replacing those in kind. So the lot's an unusual shape lot, and it was platted. When it was platted, I don't really know why it was platted the way it was platted, but the big portion of the roadway easement runs through the property. And so if you measure from the new addition to the actual pavement itself, it is 50 feet to the pavement itself. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? I think you covered it well. Thank you. At this time, if board members don't have any questions, we'll open the floor to any speakers in the audience or online who want to speak in favor or opposition to this request. As a reminder, each speaker has 5 minutes to present, inclusive of the board's questions, unless the chair allows additional time.
Mr. Chair, I do have one speaker's card from Glenn Hoffmeister.
Glenn Hoffmeister,
If you
3
could-
Deerfield Ridge Road, Wildwood, Missouri. Yes, I do.
Floor is yours, Mr. Hoffmeister.
Okay, we've been their neighbors. We're at number 3, which is the adjoining property to 13 with the road in between. My property line actually goes to a point about 12 feet from the addition. But the houses are separated by 100 yards. And the road crosses each way, and I think our driveway is in their property. But we've been there, and I appreciate your job because I was on the Board of Adjustment for the first 5 years of the city. So we think that it will be an improvement to an already outstanding house in that it would balance the garage, which is already forward from the main house. And if the generator and the air conditioner remains on that side, it would be hidden from the road as well. No one can see that house, the front of it, except us from our property. No one else in the subdivision has visual line of sight to the property. So we have no objection. We encourage her to do that. And she has other plans to enhance the rest of the property after she gets to occupy it. That's all. Any questions?
Thank you. Any additional speakers for this variance request?
2 individuals online. If those individuals would like to speak at this time, please use the raise hand feature. Chair, I see no raised hands on one. And no more speakers. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Would anybody like to hear the oral presentation of the department's report? Any final comments from the Department of Planning?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, you may have read a previous report from this department that was very different than our recommendation tonight. However, in our defense, several items have since been provided to it that have aided in us being able to reconsider this request, including a 3D rendering, a tree impact study, a stormwater impact mitigation plan. And also we've heard from the HOA and they took their vote. So we have that information as well. Ultimately, in reviewing the 3D rendering, many of this department's concerns regarding the design of the home were alleviated in looking at it. Additionally, it's always comforting to know in a private subdivision where, pretty much only those owners of those homes are going in and out, over 90% approve of the project. So we are now in support. We are recommending that this approval, if the board should grant it, be contingent upon approval of a landscape plan or, as they were saying, tree replacement or tree relocation plan. But that concludes this department's comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe. Any final comments from the board? Seeing none, we will close this proceeding for a vote. Can I have a motion to approve, to deny, or approve with conditions? Do we have a second for that motion? Mr. Sprunger, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Morris, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Reiner? Mr. Lee?
Approve.
And I approve as well. Congratulations. The variance is approved with the condition as stated. So that will, thank you. We'll move right into the second request, please.
Mr. Chair, the second item on tonight's agenda is BA 10-25, David Flagg, 244 Timber Meadow Drive, Wildwood, Missouri, 63011, care of Emily Wayhart, St. Louis Hardscape Solutions, 2763 West Osage Street, Pacific, Missouri, 63069. Requests an exception to the minimum yard requirements general for the purpose of constructing a new modular block retaining wall, which will have a maximum height of 8 feet and be 167 feet in length, and will include 159 linear feet of associated black aluminum fencing to be located along the back portions of both sides of the lot and its rear property line abutting Strecker Road. Upon the property being located at 244 Timber Meadow Drive, locator number 22U 230115, Timber Ridge Estates, Plat 1, Lot 2, which would thereby authorize a front yard setback distance of 0 feet in lieu of the required 20 feet. This lot has two frontages on Timber Meadow Drive and Strecker Road, thereby having two front yards, though the retaining wall will be at the rear of the dwelling along Strecker Road, and a side yard setback distances of 0 feet in lieu of the required 8 feet. This request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 415.140 R3 10,000 square foot resident district regulations and Planned Environment Unit, PEU, amended ordinance 14735 approved by St. Louis County Council in 1989. This item was continued by the board at the request of the Department of Planning. The postponement was set the May 15th, 2025 meeting, and this particular property is located in Ward 4. Mr. Chair, before Ms. Keefe begins the presentation of her slides, the department would like to introduce into the record the following item. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular matter, and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any testimony provided as part of tonight's hearing, including but not limited to maps, plats, letters, or other materials. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Munich. Ms. Keefe?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, some of you have seen this before. However, there are a few newcomers as well. So I'm going to give a thorough presentation. In this case, the petitioner is seeking to construct a new concrete block retaining wall in the rear yard of the property as we think of it, but it's considered under our zoning regulations as the front yard in terms of setback requirements. So we're talking about the rear portion located along Strecker Road in this case. The subject lot is in the far eastern portion of Wildwood. It is part of the Timber Ridge Estate subdivision, and it's situated between two roadways, Timber Meadow Drive, which is in the front of the dwelling, and Strecker Road, which is in the rear. Both are city-maintained roadways, with Strecker being an arterial roadway. The property does have a trapezoid shape to it. It was occupied by a single-family dwelling. It is occupied by a single-family dwelling built in 1985. It is zoned R3 10,000 square foot residence district, and it is part of a planned environmental unit, amended ordinance 14,735, approved by the St. Louis County Council in 1989. Together, these provide for the setbacks applied to the property, which includes a 20-foot front yard setback, which again, in this case, is applied to the rear because we do have a public right-of-way fronting it. Planned environmental units, as a reminder, are similar to this city's planned residential development overlay districts, in that they allow smaller sized lots around large tracts of common ground. The topography is somewhat sloped on this property, with the residence on a slight hill. The lot descends 4 feet to the front of it or to the southwest and 12 feet to the rear or the northeast. The lot is covered in grassy turf. There is a 10-foot utility easement to the rear of the lot, and also a 5-foot easement on each of its sides. The petitioner is requesting, as stated, to build a new retaining wall on the back portions of the sides of the lot and on the rear property line as well. This retaining wall would have a maximum of 8 feet in height, particularly towards this central area of the rear. And then it would taper slightly to each side and then taper to 1 foot on the sides. It is planned to be concrete block. And the location of it will be 1 to 2 feet from the public sidewalk. Along with this wall, the petitioner is planning to build an black aluminum fence on top of it. And all of this together will require a 0-foot setback from both the front yard setback distance requirements and the side yard setback distance requirements. Here you can see a 3D rendering of it provided by the petitioner. So here you can see the wall, and then you can see the fence on top of it. This is another 3D rendering provided by the petitioner. And as you can see, the highest point of the wall is in this central area here. The petitioner has also provided us more details regarding the fence, which you also saw in the rendering, but this gives you a sense of what that style looks like. This is the front of the dwelling, looking east. And in front of the dwelling is Timber Meadow Drive, and we're looking southeast along it. This is the southeastern side yard of the dwelling. And this is the northeastern side yard. This is the rear of the home, looking across Strecker Road. So this is Strecker Road, we're standing across it, and this is the subject dwelling. This fence, as you see in this photo, is deceptive. This is not the rear property line for this property. It actually comes up closer to the sidewalk, and that's where the new concrete retaining wall would be placed. So again, that wall would be a couple feet from this public sidewalk. And this is the petitioner's rear yard. This is the petitioner's fence. We're looking southwest. Here we're looking along the fence line, looking northwest. This is the neighbor to the west and the rear yard. And this is the neighbor to the south. Again, we're still in the petitioner's rear yard. This is standing in the rear yard area looking across Strecker Road to the northeast to give you a sense of the surrounding area. This is the Clayton Woods subdivision looking east across Strecker Road from the property. This is standing in that rear yard area of the property. We're looking north. And this is the Ben Balmer House, which is a historic landmark in Wildwood. This is looking southeast along Strecker Road. The department has received 3 written comments in regards to this request. 2 were from the same person. And they were in support. That was the next door neighbor. Additionally, the department has received 1 other comment in opposition to the request. And that concludes my presentation at this time. If you have any questions, Director Vunich and I are available to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Keith. Any initial questions? Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
Yeah, I have a question. Last month we had asked for a rendering like what was presented, but this rendering is considerably out of scale. The fence is 4 feet and the wall that they're showing here is about 4 feet. If you look at the rendering, this one here, the wall would be 2 feet taller than the adjacent fence. And then at the other end, which would be the south end, it would be 8 feet tall where the drainage way is. And like I said, the rendering is way out of scale here. So I want everybody to understand that this wall is going to the top of the fence, and then the fence would be put on top of that if you looked at this drawing correctly. The person's 5'8". The wall's right behind him, about 3 feet away.
Okay. Mr. Lee?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go
to
ahead.
Mr. Lee's comment, certainly we understand that renderings are a generalization, and I will defer to the petitioner to describe how they developed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Vunich. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you, Ms. Keefe. This time, will the petitioner please come forward, state his or her name, address, relation to the property, and we'll get you sworn in by the court reporter.
How's it going?
Well,
I'm Zach Wayhart, owner of STL Hardscape Solutions.
and your relationship to this
sorry.
property.
Oh, I'm the contractor hired to do the work and the engineering and all that. Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Wayhart.
All right. So, sorry, I'm like frazzled. I haven't worked in the field for 2 years. I've been building block walls for the past few days, so I'm a little fried out. But could you pull up the pictures too, so we can look at those? So the rendering does, obviously it's a rendering. It's a 3D rendering. It's given us a concept drawing. It's not an actual engineered drawing. However, it was more for color choice to see that. Also, it includes the embedment of that wall. So a lot of that wall, again, from this far, when we were talking about the picture from how deceptive it is to see, that hillside and that person in front of it too. So, I mean, that is the part where the wall is a little bit shorter. So we're counting for embedment too in front of there. So we've got 18 inches of that wall in the ground. So it's pretty much right on the money right there. So, and also that the only thing that may not be perfectly to scale is the sidewalk, but because it goes a little bit further down, which, you know, maybe 8 inches off. But again, it's counting for embedment too. Last month when we were here, I mean, we pretty much had all this stuff figured out, had everything labeled out. Look, this is an issue with erosion. We had some back and forth with my client, and I don't know who it was, but anyways, long story short, you know, can we go to the pictures of the erosion that's shown in there? Because we were talking about the pictures and looking at the trees and everything else, but really the erosion issue is right in front of our face on the pictures. Go to the next one. See the street creep right there, the sidewalk creep? That's because that hillside is sliding into the sidewalk. You guys have been out, the city of Wildwood has been out there how many times, Joe? 2 or 3? Three times now to fix that. They've excavated it out, spending money to do that. That didn't work. They put gravel down there. They put a drain down there. None of that stuff worked. Or did you guys put a drain down there? Or did you guys just make a basin? Yeah. I think there was a bunch of clean gravel that was put down there, but basically creating a basin, a way for that water to drain out. So that's continuing to happen. If you go to the next picture, that's the erosion on the left side of the hill where everything is working its way down and it's washing out. It's washed all the roots off of that tree, causing that tree to die right there. That thing's been dead for quite some time now, as well as the other one. I don't think we have a clear picture of that, but then if you go to the next picture, that's the top of the hill. And there's no way to fix this other than putting something there substantial enough to stop that hillside from moving. So regardless of if we, you know, again, getting this thing pushed through, you know, it's clear cut right in the pictures. I mean, it needs to be done. Something needs to be done. Otherwise it's going to continue having you guys out there to try to fix this. And it's a nuisance to the city of Wildwood. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, to go out there and fix a hillside slipping onto the sidewalk because somebody's walking and they're like, oh, this doesn't look right. Well, we're putting a plan together to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And the homeowner is going to pay for it, not the city of Wildwood. So, you know, if the rendering's a little bit off, if we need to go back and do that, I mean, mainly we were focusing on the colors because the people that were next door and around, they wanted to know like, hey, what color is this thing going to be? How tall is it going to be? And it's, you know, obviously, you know, the renderings that we use, it's just to get a slight visual to make sure this thing, you know, obviously fits the color palette, because nobody cares about the engineering behind the wall. You know, let's just be honest about that. Is the engineering behind the wall is put there to make sure that that thing is not going to move and the ground behind that is stable and it's going to stop the erosion. You know, the color is what everybody was worried about. So that's kind of what we were pushing on in that. So, but again, I mean, if you guys push this through, I mean, we'll, whatever we got to do to make sure that this works. I mean, if it's something where you guys want to have some control over the height of the wall or whatever, I mean, I don't think that we're in opposition of that. But again, it's trying to take care of this. The client that we have too was, again, mowing this grass and slipped down this hill. I mean, if you drive past, I mean, you can see how steep it is. It's not just a little, you know, a little hill. It's not very long, but it's very steep. So.
Anything else?
That's pretty much it.
Any questions, comments, concerns from the board?
Maybe you could clarify for us. Clearly water has run down through there. You can obviously see that. So when you put the wall up, water's still going to want to run that direction.
Mhm.
So what is your plan to capture that water or divert it or to take it, bring it down? You know, what, how are you
That's a
going
good
to?
question.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I mean, so it's, I mean, basically the way that wall is designed is to stabilize the backside of that wall with angular aggregate, which is a clean aggregate. So basically it's a massive French drain. So what that does is it allows that water to go behind that wall,
Right.
sink through that and slowly work its way out versus, you know, you get a 10-inch rain and it's just rushing down the hill. So, I mean, it's basically going to alleviate the, you know, the speed of that water rushing down the hill or the runoff. And then there's going to be exhaust points every 25 foot throughout the wall to let that water slowly come out. In front of that wall, where the concrete's going to be, we're going to put gravel in front of that to where there's not going to be any turf or anything else that needs to be maintained by the city or anybody else. And it's just going to be a giant drain swale in front of it, kind of like what they started with on the one end, but we're going to continue that the length of the wall. Because we're setting back about a foot off of it.
So as the water comes in, it gets caught in the aggregate or whatever.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not going to obviously go over the wall or any of that kind of thing.
Right.
It's going to go down, and there's a pipe down there that's
Yeah.
going to collect that.
Correct.
And then what'd you call them? Some kind of ports or something?
I call it an exhaust point, but it's basically like the tip of a tea kettle, so where it doesn't allow it to build up hydrostatic pressure behind the wall.
Okay, so then the water exit through those ports
Correct.
onto what?
So it's not, if the water is ever coming out of that wall, shooting out of it like that, we all have problems. There's bigger problems than just that. All that's supposed to do is it's a leach pipe. It allows the water to slowly go in there and it leaches out at its own free will. It's basically like a high school student. It takes the path of least resistance. It's just going to go through there and then slowly work its way outside of the wall. So.
Yeah, I think the obvious concern is just, we're not going to just move the problem around.
No,
Right.
this is all going to drain back to the back of that wall, and then it's going to work its way and filter through. You've got non-filter fabric, you've got other soil behind there, and then you've also got the angular aggregate, and it's 6 foot tall and I think 8 foot tall in some areas. So what it's going to do is it's going to slowly work down to the bottom of that wall, which is embedded 18 to 24 inches in some places. So that it doesn't blow out the wall or push it out or squirt out of the wall, it's going to slowly raise till it hits that pipe. As it hits that pipe, it's going to slowly work its way out of the wall, and it's going to be dispersed evenly versus all in one area, because right now everything's coming down to that corner. You can kind of see how the water's draining on the backside, but it's coming down to those two spots, one where the dead tree that was a few years back and the one that just recently died. So
Okay, thank you.
Actually,
Yeah, I have a question. So you had mentioned the embedment at the base of the wall. So what is the wall height from grade to grade? Because I think we can allow a 6-foot wall without going through this process.
yeah,
And where I'm going is if you had 18 inches, you would be 4'6" on the neighbor to the north and 5'6"
Yeah.
on our 6'6" on the one to the south, which is only 6 inches long.
right. Well, and that's the thing.
So but 8 feet is pretty tall.
Well, and that's the thing, like with with permitting and all this stuff. And my wife's here tonight too, and she does a lot of the permitting and stuff. She's like, why do we have to, there's only gonna be 5 foot exposed. Like, why do we have to get this engineered at 8 foot tall? And the reason is they count all the way down to the base rock, the top of the base rock. So, I haven't shot great elevations on the sidewalk. I do have one on the one end and one on the other, but it does kind of undulate a little bit. So most areas it's going to be 18 inches, but there will be a couple areas where it's going to be 24 to where we can keep that level terrace. But I would imagine there's not going to be too many spaces where the wall is actually going to be 6 foot over elevation. It might be a little bit over that 4-6 inches, so
Yeah.
counting your embedment. So, if it's something where we need to limit or restrict the height on it, I don't think that David would be opposed to that. Our client too, and I think that that's something that
If now, Joe, correct me on this one, but if it's 6 feet grade to grade, then we do not need a variance.
Yes, our code allows walls 6 feet or less in height to be up to the property line in principle. But again, the information provided in support of this request indicates a top of wall elevation of 0 and bottom of wall of 8. So that's what we're using to basically make our determination.
I think there's some confusion there. So if you could
Yeah,
clarify that. And
Yeah, that's basically it is, you have 18 inches, in some areas 24. I could go out and get a topo survey of this too. If we had to do something like that, but that's going to cost, thousands of dollars for something where we're, obviously it's on one end, it's going to be about 4'6" out of the ground. The other end, it's going to be around 6.5 foot out of the ground. I'm counting the embedment, and that's just because we're trying to do everything right. I could tell you like, hey, this is going to be 6 foot tall and made it work and shot my elevations to make it perfectly 6 foot, but we're coming here honestly giving you guys all the information and then doing all of our due diligence as far as the engineering and then going to the different neighbors and then, going so far as making a 3D rendering for a retaining wall to make sure that these people could check out the color and everything. And we went back and forth on the color a couple times when we got them to agree on the color that we put in that into the rendering. So, I mean, if it's something where we need to restrict it to 6 foot, I mean, I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. My biggest thing was trying to raise it up in the middle of that wall a little bit to where it would slow the speed of that water because everything is running downhill.
Well, you would significantly impact the flow of the water at 6 feet.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, absolutely. No, I was talking about, sorry, from right to left. If you're the picture that we're looking at right now, from right to left, if we had it a little bit taller, then that water's not going to be rushing down the hill. If we have it all at 6 foot tall, so it's stair stepping down, it's going to push all of that water down to that corner to where we're going to have to probably put some sort of a basin drain or something there too, which wasn't planned because we kind of planned it with the engineering and the grade. So.
Yeah. Question, Robin, could you throw the photo up with the street view looking up the street? Because I think this slopes north to south with this road. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you're constantly going uphill.
Correct.
So there is no valley in the middle. Just the point of reference here. And
Yeah, because we kind of had the way that we had that designed is to where it's going to be more level until the very end to where it slowly drops off and tapers at the very end versus tapering the whole way. Because it is a 160-foot stretch.
which side are you tapering to?
So the side that we're standing or the side that we're looking at
The
picture.
south side.
Yeah, south side, sorry. Yeah, that's going to be up there at the top. I mean, that wall's, I mean, again, going to be 3.5, 4 foot exposed. I mean, it's not really, there's not too much of a slope over there.
So I don't see why we need to go through this process.
Don't tell me that. We just came back from months.
Well, the report had 6 foot and 8 foot. And 8 foot is literally at the top of the fence on this drawing. So what he's showing here in the rendering is I think what you're intending to construct.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to be a couple inches over your guys's, gosh, I'm having a brain fart right now, but your guys' requirement of 6 foot, we're going to be just a hair over that, like in the middle section. But, if we need to drop it down to where we step it down sooner to where we're taking a block off just in that section, I don't think that's a big deal. I mean, I could definitely make that work. But again, I mean, you guys have control of it too, as long as we get this thing pushed through with whatever conditions you guys may or may not want to put on it. But, we're willing to work with you and do it the right way. So.
but I think what you're hearing is that, when we talk about hardship, practical difficulty,
Mhm.
and we're talking about if your wall was 2 inches shorter, maybe 4 inches shorter,
Mhm.
do you really does the petitioner really still have a hardship?
Well, I mean, the hardship is obviously the severity of the slope. We want to build it the height that we have it in there. So, I mean, it's 6 inches taller. So, I mean, that's what we propose is what we want to build. But I mean, if you guys are telling me that, I mean, I would like to try to get it built that way just because that's what we had talked about. And we've had this plan for months now going back and forth and making sure that everything's right. And I mean, we put a lot of hours in on our end too, to try to make sure that we had everything put together, all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. So, again, I see what you're saying. I mean, we could drop it down, but we've already been here 2 months now. I've been laying blocks all day. I got cuts in my hands. I had to wash my hair in the sink to get up here and try to get this thing to get pushed through. So
Having a good day.
Mr. Lee, I mean, what are your thoughts on a foot variance at this point?
I don't see the hardship here. I mean, it's not warranted.
Yeah, I think it seems like the petitioner can still accomplish what they're trying to do. The last 6 inches, it just means that the slope of the yard or whatever tapers just a little bit more. And unless I'm missing something here, I mean, I see your point. You're going to get such a vast improvement already by staying within 6 feet. The last 6 inches seems like, wow, why? What's the big deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, then also some of that sidewalk though too does undulate. I mean, you guys aren't going to come out there and with a ruler and everything if we are a couple inches over 6 foot. And I mean, because the way that we're presenting the drawing to like county would be, obviously they're going to want to know how deep that wall is. So
Sure.
even if we change it and say, hey, we're going to build it at 7 foot here and 7 foot down here, you know, that's above your guys's, you know, technically that wall is technically over your guys's, allowance in height, correct? Because it's 6 foot.
6 foot from grade to grade.
Okay.
And you're going to want a little lip on that. You don't want the water coming over the top of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the way that this is written is 6 feet at one end and 8 feet at the other. So that's what the presentation is, and that's what we'll vote on. Grade to grade.
Yes, we're just making our determinations whether the Board of Adjustment needs to hear the case or not based upon the elevations provided. And from our review, as well as the Department of Public Works, we have segments of the wall that are 8 feet. And that's 2 feet more than what's allowed under code. Thank you.
Yet what you're saying is, in reality, from grade to grade,
Is not the true, if you ask St. Louis County, it's from the bottom of the base block to the top of the wall. And that's just, so when I'm going to have to go manipulate an engineer's drawing, stamped engineer drawing and say that it's only 6 foot when in reality, it's going to be 8 foot or 7.5 foot. And it's going to be over the requirements of county. It has to be that height. So I can't go in there and manipulate these drawings. I mean, I'm not a PE and, you know, I've got a great relationship with Joe Strain, the guy that we work with. And, you know, and so then I'm lying to somebody and I'm not willing to do that. I mean, I would rather just, you know, get this thing pushed through the way that it is. And, you know, obviously you guys know it's a small ask. It's not like, hey, there's a hardship here or not. I mean, there's still the hardship of what we're trying to do. And if the wall has to be 8 foot, I know you guys are saying that your guys' allowance is from grade to grade. That's not how the county looks at it, you know? So I just don't want to go in there and start manipulating drawings or ask Joe to do something that's not true, because then that changes the structural calculations of his grid lengths and everything else. So then he has to go in there and change his drawing to be like, okay, it's only a 6 foot wall, but technically we need longer grid. And it just muddies it all up, you know? I mean, but.
well,
That's-
let me ask you this. I think I'm going to get off this horse, but you're digging down and putting in your base.
Mhm.
What if your base went down 6 more inches? The whole wall goes down 6 more inches. You still have 8 feet that you've presented to the county. Is that a potential way to deal with that? And still you're compliant with
But
the,
then, I mean, yeah.
or is that just, no?
Well, then we're stealing money from, yeah, I mean, then we're stealing money from David Fleeg, you know, like being like, hey, we're gonna build this wall 8 inches lower than it needs to really be. I mean, even 18 inches is a deep embedment. We just like to, you know,
Okay.
overbuild a little.
Just thought
bit.
I'd ask.
Yeah.
Director Vunich, obviously the recommendation report is not supporting it. Would anything have changed this discussion? Did anything change from the department's stance? I may have jumped the gun a little bit here, but
Well, again, I am not a PE as well, but the wall, if the wall is 8 feet, regardless of what's visible from the sidewalk, it's still an 8-foot structure. And that's how the code treats it. And that's how the building code treats it. So from the department's perspective, again, we made the determination the variance was needed based upon the information provided. The department's report has changed, which is unfortunate. We don't like doing that, as Ms. Keefe mentioned in the first discussion. But in this particular instance, we think we can solve many of the problems by just adhering to the code required limitations.
That being said, any other questions, comments for the petitioner? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing none, we will open up the floor to any speakers in the audience who may want to speak in favor or opposition to the request. As a reminder, each speaker has 5 minutes to present, inclusive of the board's questions, unless the chair allows additional time.
Mr. Chair, I do not have speakers cards, but I do have a raised hand online.
Okay. If the individual online could state their name, address, relation to this petition, and we'll get you sworn in.
Hi, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. If you could state your
Oh.
name, address, relationship to this petition, and
Sure.
we'll get you sworn in.
Sure. Name's Jamie Corwin. Address is 250 Timber Meadow Drive. I am the neighbor directly to the north of the petitioner.
Get you sworn in, Mr. Corwin.
Do you solemnly swear the statements you're about to make in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Corwin.
I have a question. DJ and Jackie have explained the project to us, and I mean, our primary concern is just the flow looking at the back of Strecker, because we have several wood fences, but then several houses down, a neighbor put in one of the plastic fences. But I'm curious, just in the conversations that have been had as far as the 8 feet versus 6 feet and what's buried, is there the ability to give an approval with an addendum of sort that it is 8 feet granted, that a max of 6 feet above property line is viewable or is visible? In other words, they've got, because I guess the contractor was saying the city requires that 8 feet, or the county requires that 8 feet. I realize the city has the 6 foot max on it. So whether it's, the variance at 6.5 feet, because the way it was explained to me, at our side, the corner is going to be just below our 4 foot fence. At the far side, it's just going to be above 5 feet, and there is a bow to the property there. So I'm just curious if it's possible to grant variance where you put the stipulation as to what the maximum above grade level is that's available.
Director Venus, do you have that answer?
Well, the Board of Adjustment has wide latitude in terms of how it considers its decisions. And so, yes, if you wanted to say that this 8 foot wall is only visible from Strecker Road or the final finished grade, 6 feet, that's a condition you can add.
Because it sounded like what the contractor was saying was at the peak, it was going to be, I think he had said 6.5 feet, because they're going to put 18 inches below grade for stability. So it just in listening to it, it sounded like if there was a stipulation put in that's approval with max visible height of X, whether it's 6.5 or 6, however it was put, it would address both the county requirements and the city code.
Okay. Anything else
And
you'd
then
like to add, Mr. Corwin?
our other request, and I had submitted this in writing as well, was if we look at color options, as dark as possible, because the fences on both sides are stained a dark brown. And I think then if there's a wall that's a dark brown, it still maintains some of that continuity irregardless of the fence above. Just from a line of sight on it.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Any questions, comments from Mr. Corwin? Thank you, sir. Any additional speaker card or raised hands, Ms. Keefe?
Mr. Chair, no, not happening.
At this time, would anybody like to hear the oral presentation of the department's report? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and offer the opportunity for the Department of Planning to make any final comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the board, as I briefly mentioned when questioned, the department has revised its recommendation as not supporting the 8-foot height at this particular location. We believe that there are other options that do not require the variance, and the other options would include a 6-foot high retaining wall per code, and certainly stormwater management issues can be addressed by a number of best practices. And so from that perspective, the department has revised its recommendation, apologizes to the petitioner as well as the board, but we feel strongly the variance should not be supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bunich. Mr. Spronger?
Yeah. When you say 6 feet, is this grade to grade, as Mr. Lee says? So from like the sidewalk, the lowest point of the sidewalk to the top is 6 feet?
Well, again, the information I'm reviewing still seems to indicate that at several sections of the wall, it's an 8-foot wall. Because we use the toe and top, or bottom and top. And again, done this a long time, and I've never been presented a discussion where, yeah, it's an 8-foot wall, but you only see 4 or 5 feet of it because we bury it. It's a structural unit, and the information we have still seems to indicate that the bottom of the wall, and that's usually taken at finished grade, is 0, and this is 8, so it's an 8-foot wall. So I'm a little confused myself, but all I know is that based upon the information that was presented to the department, we're dealing with a retaining wall system that needs a variance. And the department in this case says, yes, you can still build a 6-foot wall without a variance, and you can address stormwater by best practices. And we don't believe the variance is needed because there are alternatives.
Thank you.
So it does just because, we've talked in a circle here, I feel, but we are talking a matter of 6 inches, correct? If
No.
Mr. Wayhart is saying the visible.
The way that it's presented is bottom of wall to top of wall, grade to
In
grade.
in this case, he needs 6,
But
6.5.
Maybe.
He's saying that the wall, the bottom of the physical wall, that's at the base, to the top of the wall is 8 feet. But he's also saying that from the bottom to the grade, like where the sidewalk is,
18 to
18
24.
inches or whatever. So
So
there's really only showing is 6 foot, maybe 6 inches or 6 foot 4 inches is how I understand it.
But
I think that's what he's saying.
But that is not how the ordinance is written. It's visual to visual. Okay. So if he wanted to take this to frost 30 inches, he would just go deeper. The visual aspect of the wall is the same.
which in this case is 6.5 feet.
And again, we do not premise the structural, it's a single structural unit that
Right.
is inclusive of 8 feet of block. And so what's visible, our code doesn't say what's visible is what we determine 6 feet is. It's the structural unit.
Okay.
So
So
again,
the bottom of the wall to the top of the wall, you can do 6 feet. And if it turns out that it's visible of 4 feet, then it's visible for 4 feet. But the code says Bottom of the wall, top of the wall, 6 feet.
A structure is the assemblage of material for occupancy or use, and this is a single structural unit.
Got it.
That's a very good question, Mr. Renner. That has been in the county zoning ordinance since 1965. When we incorporated in 1995, we carried it over because if we didn't, all those walls out there that are 6 feet in the side yard, rear yard, or front yard setbacks would have been legal but non-conforming. And so I can't necessarily give you a rationale why St. Louis County now almost 50 plus years later or more, 60 years, I guess, did it. I will tell you that over the years, landscape walls that don't hold a charge have gone from 2 feet without requiring a permit to now 3 feet. So things change.
Mr. Wayhart, come on back up, and if there's anything you want to add, given kind of the discussion and that, please alleviate some of the questions here.
I'm sorry. Me and Joe have a great working relationship too, but I just want to, clarify. So originally we said 6 foot from grade to grade. Now it's 6 foot from the bottom to the top. So what is it? That's because I'm just trying to clarify that, because the way that we have it designed, and it, again, there isn't a charge in this wall. It's 8 feet from the top of the wall to the bottom of the wall, the way that we have it designed, the way our engineer designed it. So technically it's an 8 foot wall, but it's 6'6" above grade. So, I mean, that's what I'm just trying to make sense of, because I mean, he said it himself that it's 6 foot from grade to grade, and now it's 6 foot from the bottom of the wall to the top of the wall is the wall. So I'm just trying to be clear on that, because our, the way that we have the design written and drawn up and stamped is it's an 8 foot wall, but it's only 6.5 feet, compared, for your guys' code. So I'm just trying to make sense of that.
Do you have that drawing that would
we
show
have it-
the
We have it in our-
embedment?
No, there's no cross section of it. It's a top of wall and bottom of the wall. And then we have you do have the drawing, don't you? It's like 80 pages long, but I think you should have it. I can pull it up on my phone and show it to you if you want.
That I understand is that be within the section. Split. You have to bury some of that.
Right.
So it could be 18 inches now. It's
Right.
1.5 foot.
But it's
Usable
right.
section of.
I know it's again, it's just. It's still going to have about a 2.5 foot slope from their patio to the wall, the way we have it designed, but anything more than that's still kind of a steeper slope. I mean, it's less than 3 to 1, but it's, it's, again, could we build it a block less and call it 7.5 or 7'4". I mean, we could, but it's still, again, it's still over, the required height. So, I mean, that's what I'm trying to show prove hardship, because that's what we're trying to build it at that height. So again, with mitigating the water, we don't want that water rushing down the hill, and anything less than where it's at right now, it's going to make that water move faster, which is going to incur additional stormwater type work, which wouldn't be needed if we built that wall up to the height and not have it as steep. Yeah, but a two-tiered wall though at 8 foot though still requires a permit though, am I right? Yeah, that still requires engineered drawings. I mean, you can do 2-3 foot walls, I believe, with using the master provided by the manufacturer. However, then that bottom wall is holding a charge now because then that upper wall is an additional weight held up by the structure down below. So anything that's it's you know it's I mean, I'm so glad that I never went to school for this because like, you know, I would have had it so easy in the field building walls, you know, and not smelled like crap when I'm trying to look at the you have on your yeah, it is. Go to the top. Basically what that's showing is the different heights of the wall on the left side in that left column, and then it's showing, gosh, I can't. Oh, thank you, Joe. So that's exposed height, correct? And then that shows the grid lengths and then the positioning of the grid, how long they are, and on what course they're on. Sorry, not course, elevation.
So in your rendering, getting back to that with your neighbor's fence to the north, their fence is 48 inches. If you were at 6'6" exposed, it'd be 2.5 feet higher than that. And then another 4 feet of metal fence.
The top part of that elevation, their fence doesn't go past that on the left side. I mean, it goes to the same distance that the other one is.
No, what I'm getting at in your drawing here, again, it's very misleading. So if this is 6 feet,
Yeah.
6, you'd be 2.5 feet higher than his fence.
Yeah,
And
but
then
that's
that
not-
would be the bottom of your new fence.
That's where it's going to be lower at that top end anyways. I mean, we've got 6 foot, it's going to be about 4 foot, 4.5 foot over there.
So it looks to me like the grade rises up toward the neighbor.
Sure,
It
that's
does.
why we didn't, that's why we
That's
didn't
why this
present.
is 6 feet out of the above grade. I think I understand.
Yeah. And that's why we didn't present that because at the first time, because we never really do a 3D rendering for a retaining wall just because it's not needed, but the color was the main concern the last time we were here was the color. So we put it together to where we showed this wall with the color and everything to present it. I mean, this is Bible right here. This 60-page document from the engineer is the Bible for this wall. It's got all the structural calcs, it's got all the embedment, grid, everything. I mean, it's a rendering is a rendering. Our contracts, we have a 15-page design agreement that we have our customers sign that says that, hey, look, this is visual representation. This is not exactly to spec and scale of what the finished project is going to be. That's going to be spec'd out in the engineer and architectural plans. So.
I actually have a question for Director Budich. I want to just revisit this 6 foot wall structure. Okay, I get that. It was the intention of the code that you see 6 feet, or it really is just a 6 foot structure? Because you could technically bury 5 of the 6 feet in the ground and you'd have a 1 foot wall. I mean, that's an obviously extreme example, but a 6 foot retaining wall is never going to be 6 feet above the ground because you're always going to be below grade,
Right.
Always.
Well, a portion of the wall will always be below grade for
Correct.
the stability
Right.
and to build the rest of the structure on top of it. But from the perspective of the department, if you use the measure of what I can see, well, somebody could push a little dirt up to it and it's like, well, that's finished grade. Well, it's not a standard that's enforceable, nor is it one that can be done consistently, because each contractor may have a different way of trying to assess what a 6-foot wall is. It's a structural unit. If it's 8 feet, it's 8 feet. Whatever is visible, well, that's fine. But the best approach and the most enforceable and consistent approach is when the engineer signs off on it and it says 8 feet, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, that makes, that makes perfect sense. I think the thing that we have to understand is if a person says you can have a 6-foot wall, that doesn't mean you're going to have a 6-foot wall. That means realistically, you won't even have a 5-foot wall because you're going to be more than a foot down into the ground for stability, right?
And we talked about that, and that was the thing earlier too, is like, when we
Okay.
talked about grade to grade, 6 foot, you know, so that's, I mean, I can drop it, I mean, I can make a non-engineered plan that shows 6 foot, so we don't need the engineer's drawing, and I can turn this into county, and it's still gonna be the same thing, right? Is that okay? Because from your guy, from what you said earlier was,
Again, I won't answer that question without something drawn and available for review. And the review is also done by our Department of Public Works, which has the engineers associated with it. So again, I just want to emphasize what you see and what is built. You can't use what you see as a measure relative to building code, structural stability, and the safety of the wall itself. So I appreciate that the wall may not look like 8 feet, but it is an 8-foot wall.
Got it, yeah. And so the earlier discussion about from grade to grade is not relevant.
so that wasn't true then, or it wasn't?
Well, it can't be true because you don't know. I mean, if we're talking about just the structure, what's grade to grade? That as Joe said, you can throw some dirt in there. I can change the grade 6 inches with a shovel and a wheelbarrow. You know, I mean, yeah. So, okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Swihart. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Any other final comments from the department?
No, sir, but thank you.
At this time, we will close the proceeding for a vote. May I have a motion to approve, a motion to deny, or approve with conditions?
I'll make-
To approve. Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
I was going to make a motion to deny following the department's recommendation.
Do we have a second to deny? We'll have to go ahead, Director Gooch.
Mr. Chair, without a second on the motion fails. So there's an opportunity to do another motion of a different nature, or if you all want more time to think about what you've heard tonight, there can be also a motion to postpone.
So we do have a motion to deny, as Director Gooch said, without a second. Fails. It fails. If there was an inclination to state a different motion or to pen the roll call for any other information or any clarity, we can do that as well. Okay. Do we have a second to postpone for further consideration? Without a motion, without a second to that motion fails as well. We'll state one more time. Do we have a motion to? Do we have to restate that motion to deny and wait for a second, or can we?
Again, as you know, we've had a
Yeah.
motion to recommend a denial of the variance, which failed for lack of a second. We had a motion to postpone, which failed for the lack of a second. So the other option is a motion to approve, which would require a second and for the 5 members to vote in favor. And if no motion receives a second, I would have to defer to the city attorney and ask, is that a denial because of failure to have a motion? Or is it a postponement because an action is required? Could you go to the full screen so we can have the city attorney?
Certainly. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. I only heard a little bit of that whenever the board members were speaking, just because I think some people have their mics on and some may not. But what I gathered from that is that Director Vunich is correct that if there is no vote on something to either deny it or to approve it, if it is not postponed through a motion, if it is not laid on the table to be addressed later on in this same meeting, it will move to unfinished business onto the next agenda. Does that answer your question? Do you have any follow-ups?
Nope. I'm gonna. So what we'll do is we have not offered up, and we'll do it right here. Is there a motion to approve? Approve or approve with conditions? So now all options have been put forth to the group. So
I would recommend or just say, can we have a motion to table it for 5 minutes to discuss? Can we discuss it privately?
No.
Nope.
Can,
Okay.
can we open it back up to ask questions of the department or the petitioner? I know we closed that part of the meeting, but can we make a motion to open that back up if we want to ask some more questions?
I believe so, because there hasn't been a roll call, but
Sorry, just a quick question. For clarity, would you like to essentially pause this and then move on to the other items on the agenda and then bring it back at the end within this same meeting or a separate meeting?
I believe Member Sprunger is asking if we can, and currently right now, open it back up for a few questions and some clarity, both from the department and the petitioner.
Correct.
Technically, we did close for a vote, but can we open that back up and if there's a question or concern that's keeping someone from voting either way, go ahead and try to address that right now.
So I would like to defer to Director Vunich, just because I have never been posed that question. But as far as I'm concerned, since there hasn't been a vote actually taken on it, then
Correct.
the business has not been disposed of.
So the only similar situation I can provide to the board for guidance is that at city council, this has occurred on a couple of occasions. And typically at that time, the mayor requests a motion to reopen the discussion and a second, and then it only requires a simple majority because it's not taking a formal action regarding the request.
Yeah, thank you, Director Vunich. So I think we'll follow that precedent and say, do I have a motion to take a few steps back and reopen the discussion and allow for additional testimony, questions?
I would like to make a motion to reopen our discussion.
Okay. Do we have a second for that?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, so I have a second. I as well will vote to reopen the discussion. So I believe that's our simple majority, and we can start, take a few steps back here. Go ahead, Mr. Sprunger.
So Chair, just for the purposes, could you just ask for a voice vote, all in favor of the motion that's on the floor?
Good call. Can we do a voice vote for those who want to open up the discussion again. Vote aye or nay. Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Say
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Munich.
So I am going to ask Director Vunich a question that I hope you feel comfortable answering, but maybe you don't. And if you don't, I get that. But I'm back on this 6-foot wall thing, and I understand what it is now. I got that. The department is feeling like if they did a 6-foot wall, it would accomplish what the petitioner is setting out to do. And what that would mean, if I understand correctly, is, and I know the grade thing is just kind of you can't really go by that, but you sort of can, just in the sense that it's at the sidewalk. You're probably going to look at about a 4-foot wall if you stay with the 6-foot structure, maybe 4.5 feet, probably not 5. So that being the case, because that's what's above grade, likely, the city feels like, yeah, they can still get done. They can get the erosion control. They can provide a surface area where the family can enjoy that area. You know, yeah, we've taken it down a 1.5 feet maybe, or whatever. But the department did that evaluation and said, yeah, we think that they still are going to be able to get the benefits that they're looking for.
Well, certainly not to the extent that the petitioner is requesting, but a retaining wall will address some of the current conditions relative to the slope of the rear yard to Strecker Road.
Mhm.
It won't address it to the extent as requested, as I mentioned. And then there are other approaches to address the erosion that's occurring in the rear yard area due to soil, height, and slope. Again, I believe the board has the authority, if a motion is made to approve the wall, to limit the extent that's visible. And I would use sidewalk grade because that's established and won't change because the applicant nor the contractor have the authority to work in the right of way. That from sidewalk grade, the maximum that's visible is 6 feet or 6.6, 6.5 feet, whatever the circumstance might be. So I believe you have that much discretion in this regard.
Okay, so I'm now going to ask you the obvious follow-up question, which is, does the department, would the department view it favorably if that restriction were put on an approval and say it is 6.5 feet from sidewalk grade, top of sidewalk grade, as an example? Because that's, I think, at the end of the day, what the petitioner is really asking for is it's an 8-foot wall, but people are going to see 6.5.
The department would prefer, if there's a favorable vote, that we use a known elevation to measure the visible component of the wall.
Mhm.
And that, to me, is the sidewalk that's within the public right-of-way area. And then if you are inclined, I think Mr. Corwin's request that it match the surrounding built environment, which are the 2 fences on either side, is reasonable as well. So if those 2 conditions are included, certainly, I think the board could accept the department could accept the board's action, certainly.
So that would make sense to the department.
Right. Again, the unknown finished grade is what's concerning to the department as that known elevation at the base of the wall.
Okay. So to just get that again, you were tying it in with the neighbors. I'm sorry, help me with that, what the condition would be again.
Well, it's just more of an aesthetic component.
Sure.
And I think as part of our original recommendation, when we endorsed the wall at the requested height, we had talked about the color. Retaining walls come in varied colors. A lot of people use the concrete or the gray color, and it's a very stark color, particularly when no other portion of the area has that color associated with it. Mr. Corrin mentioned that both fences on either side of the applicant's lot have a stain that's a dark brown. So I think what the petitioner is proposing is to try to match that. So if you were to recommend approval of variance, we would like that condition contained in it as well.
Okay, so that would be a second condition as
Yes.
well as the height above sidewalk
Yeah.
grade.
As long as the condition reads from sidewalk grade to top of wall, it's a 6.5 feet maximum, then that's fine.
Okay, all right. Okay,
And Director Munoz, give us a little guidance on the color, because obviously we don't want to leave the subjective.
Yes.
What wording would you like to see there?
I think it's like a rockwood brown or something. I'd have to review the drawings again, but a color that complements the fence stain color, which is a dark brown.
Since we reopened it up, Mr. Wayhart, if there's, feel free to come up if you'd like to add to that discussion now that we have a little more definition to that. As I saw you nodding your head, what are your thoughts
Sorry,
there?
I was like, where are we going to this? No, I'm good with that. If we have a top of concrete, if that's a condition that top of concrete is our benchmark, 6.5 feet over that, I'm good with that. Taupe black is the color by Rockwood, and the neighbor, we showed them the sample and they're good with that. So
It was taupe black.
yeah, taupe black.
as in TAUPE, that
Yes.
kind of taupe?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I was thinking taupe,
Like a
like
charcoal.
a handbag.
It's basically like a brown. It's just that we mix the two colors together. So it's a light and a charcoal mixed together and they're base mix. So
And just to be clear about the sidewalk grade, because the sidewalk has it's not perfectly flat. We're talking about a 6.5 foot rise above the lowest
top of concrete, right?
top of concrete, but if the concrete does some of this kind of stuff,
And that's why
we're not talking 6.5 feet from the high point, we're talking 6.5 feet from the lowest
Yeah.
top of concrete grade.
Yeah, and
Nine
that's why.
foot cedar.
Six.
Right.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so that seems like that would work for the petitioner as well as for the department. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Any other final comments or questions from the board? Okay. We will now close the proceeding for a vote. May I have a motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions?
Well, I'll take a shot at this. I'll make a motion to approve the petitioner's request with the two following conditions. First of all, the color of the retaining wall would be taupe black. And the maximum height of the retaining wall, the top of the wall, can be no more than 6.5 feet above the lowest top of sidewalk grade. Did I get that right?
Yes, I think we understand what you've described, and the petitioner's engineers, petitioner's representative has agreed to it. So I think that works.
Do we have a second for Mr. Sprunger's approval with the conditions as he stated, the two conditions?
Can I modify this so that the wall is level? Because I don't
We'll
want
have
this
to
to
do.
step up.
I think we all assume that, but that probably isn't a bad, just kind of general. Let's make sure the top of the wall is level across its
Or
length.
you can restate it.
I'll let you restate it, Mr. Sprunger. So we have taupe black as the color, and the second one is
That the maximum height of the wall, a level wall at the top, can be no more than 6.5 feet above the top of sidewalk at the lowest point. Okay.
Do we have a second for that approval with conditions motion as stated?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. We will now do a roll call. Mr. Sprunger, how do you vote?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Morris, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Reiner?
Approve.
Mr. Lee?
Deny.
I approve with the conditions as stated by Mr. Sprunger. Congratulations, the variance is approved. As stated, with the conditions. Thank you, everyone, for the patience on that.
Mr. Chair, the last item in the last case tonight is BA 11-25, Kevin Ruck, 3927 Wild Hollow Court, Wildwood, Missouri, 63069. Requests an exception to the natural resource protection requirements for the purpose of constructing a new two-car detached garage, 900 square feet in area, with such being located upon the property at 3927 Wild Hollow Court, located number 26Y 240082, Estates at Deer Hollow Subdivision, Lot 24, which will require the relocation of a portion of the natural resource protection line and its associated 25-foot foundation setback line. The request is contrary to Chapter 420.200 Natural Resource Protection Standards and Procedures of the Subdivision and Development Regulations of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, as applied to the property located in the NU Non-Urban Resident District, and Chapter 415.090 NU Non-Urban District Regulations of the City of Wildwood Zoning Ordinance. This particular request does include an exchange of protected and non-protected area, which will result in a no net loss or gain in this regard. This property is located in Ward 6. And Mr. Chair, with your permission, before Ms. Keefe begins, the department would like to introduce into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular case, and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any testimony provided as part of tonight's hearing, including but not limited to maps, plats, letters, or other materials. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bunich.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. Our final case this evening involves the relocation of a portion of the final resource protection line and its associated foundational setback for the purpose of constructing a two-car detached garage. The subject site is located in far western Wildwood, so we're making the rounds tonight. In the Estates at Deer Hollow Subdivision. It is located at the terminus of Wild Hollow Court, which is a privately maintained road managed by the HOA. Ends in a cul-de-sac. The subject property is occupied by a single-family dwelling that was built in 2015. The lot is zoned non-urban residence district, which dictates its associated setbacks. The lot is also governed by the regulations and procedures of the Natural Resource Protection Standards of the Subdivision and Development Standards, which establish a final resource protection line and a 25-foot foundation setback distance from that line. Together, the zoning district and these regulations just discussed specify where development can occur upon the lot. The purpose of the Natural Resource Protection Standards is to protect areas of the lot most susceptible to erosion and also to maintain areas where stormwater naturally drains. These have been applied since 1996, and are required on the record plat and in the trust indentures before a lot can be sold. The subject lot has a varied and steep topography with hills and valleys. There is 100 feet of total relief on the lot. It is heavily wooded with grassy turf area surrounding the dwelling itself. This site plan shows where the residence is located in relation to the rest of the lot. However, we're going to zoom in. The petitioner is requesting to build a detached garage along with 2 retaining walls. The retaining walls are not part of the variance request this evening. They do meet the city's regulations. Of particular importance to this case, this red thick dashed line here is the present final resource protection line on the lot. And the thinner red line is the 25-foot foundation setback. What the petitioner is proposing to do as part of this request is do an equal exchange of protected and non-protected area. And that exchange is demonstrated by this green line that has been adjusted, and then the associated lighter green line, which is that foundation setback. In this case, because we are talking about a building, that foundation setback is applicable here. This is the front of the dwelling looking northwest. This is looking northeast at Wild Hollow Court. This is looking southeast at the neighbor across from the petitioner in the cul-de-sac. This is looking northwest at the side yard on the southwestern side of the dwelling where the garage is not located. And then this is the existing garages associated with the existing dwelling. This is the area proposed for the new garage, looking northeast. This is the rear yard area looking northwest. This is standing generally in that area of the proposed garage looking east towards Wild Hollow Court. And then this is the area of the garage be located over hereabouts. This is that same area, different perspective, standing closer to Wild Hollow Court. And it should be noted there is an existing well in that location, which is dictating some of this placement. There have been previous variances granted related to the natural resource protection area in this subdivision, including a variance granted to the petitioner's next door neighbor. And that concludes my presentation this evening. No public comments were received by the department. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe.
If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them at this time.
Any questions for the department currently? Okay.
Thank you.
At this time, will the petitioner please come forward, state his or her name, address, relation to the property, and then we'll get you sworn in by the court reporter.
Mr. Chair, our petitioner is on Zoom with us.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Please state your name, address, relationship to this property, and we'll get you sworn in.
My name's Kevin Ruck. Address is 3927 Wild Hollow Court, Wildwood, Missouri 63069. I'm the property owner. Was that all you asked for?
Yes, sir. We'll get you sworn in, Mr. Ruck.
Mike's word. Do you solemnly swear the statements you're about to make in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ruck. If you could please explain the nature of the request and the hardship or practical difficulty necessitating the variance.
So I think she did a very good job explaining it. I'm trying to build a 2-car garage. I need additional space to continue to maintain HOA rules of no storage of anything outside visible. As you could see in one of those pictures, I have a trailer now that I store behind the house to stay kind of within our rules. But I'll be honest, it's flirting with the rules. So anyway, the property's a pretty big hill, heavily wooded, and I really don't have any other options. The well, the grade, the 50-foot setbacks from the road. I've hired a civil engineer, as you can see in those plans, to try to determine all of my options, and this is the only option I have. I have discussed with my HOA. I guess I did not send that to you, Robin. I thought I had forwarded an email I had received from my HOA trustees saying that they have no concerns and this falls well within the rules of the HOA. One of the trustees is actually one of the ones that's gotten a variance on this already. So I think should sum it up.
And Mr. Ruck, the recommendation report outlines the condition that you submit a revised legal description to reflect the change in the resource protection line. It looks like you may have preemptively submitted something, and you're okay with those conditions?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. Did we lose Mr. Ruck?
I can still hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, our projector takes a break about this time at every meeting, but everybody can still hear us, and the proceedings could go forward if you'd like.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yes. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Ruck. All right. Anything else you'd like to add? We'll get the questions and get this thing moving right along.
No, sir. I think the drawings show it pretty well.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none. Any speakers in the audience that may want to speak in favor or opposition to this request? See nobody in the audience. Is anybody else online? Seeing none. Would anybody like to hear an oral presentation of the department's report? Again, seeing none. We'll give the Department of Planning the opportunity to make any final comments.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, the department is supporting this request for many of the same reasons mentioned by the petitioner. So I don't think I need to go into them too much. As you are probably aware by now from your service on the board, the natural resource protection standards do allow some flexibility to them, particularly in cases like this where there is an equal exchange. So there is no net loss to protected area upon the lot. As mentioned, it's a very logical location for the garage. Any other location would result in more impervious surface and lots of issues associated with the slope. So given that the petitioner does submit to revised legal description, which they have an exhibit to reflect the change, we'll go ahead and give them our feedback, and then they'll go ahead and get that recorded with the county. That's our condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe. Any final comments from the board? This time we'll close the proceeding for a vote. May I have a motion to approve, a motion to deny, or approve with conditions?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance request with the conditions as outlined by the department in their recommendation report.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Thank you, Mr. Reiner. We have a motion to approve with the conditions outlined in the department's recommendation report. Mr. Morris, how do you vote?
I'll second it. Was there a second?
There was a second.
Oh.
Yeah, Mr. Reiner seconded.
I approve.
Vote approve. Mr. Reiner?
Approve.
Mr. Sprunger,
Approve.
Mr. Lee,
Approve.
and I approve as well. Congratulations, Mr. Ruck. Your variance is approved with the conditions as stated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I guess that gets, do we have the minutes?
Minutes.
Ms. Keefe? Oh, they're on the. We need to. Yes, I don't have. Oh, you have them. Oh, because you have them. Yes, okay. Last piece of business is to approve the minutes from last month's meeting. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Morris, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Reiner?
Approve.
Mr. Sprunger?
Approve.
Mr. Lee?
Approve.
And I approve of the minutes from last month's meeting as well. So that takes care of that. Any other new, old, indifferent business? Okay, let's consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.